Hello everyone, and welcome to a beautiful time of roses and romance. With Valentine's Day right around the corner, I thought, what better time than now to reveal the Roses and Romance Booster Pack, a small collection of mods, custom content, and gameplay features that I have gathered up to share with all of you in the hopes of adding a rosy blush to the romantic escapades of your Sims this Valentine's Day. Featured in this little booster pack episode will be the flower of romance itself, roses, and their many and sometimes surprising uses in The Sims 4, along with a very special new romantic interaction created by the talented modder Sacrificial. In fact, why don't we go ahead and start there, because I am so blown away by this mod. It is actually, to my knowledge at least, the first interaction mod that I have ever used in The Sims 4. I have never really had the courage to install a mod that will actually change the interaction tree, aka the different social interactions that your Sims can do with each other. But when I was putting together this Roses pack and I saw that slow dancing is now a thing in The Sims 4, I had to try it out. And I am happily surprised, but it works perfectly as far as I can tell. And this is my first time using anything by the modder Sacrificial, but they are the same modder who also made the Road to Fame mod, which now I'm really feeling like I want to start dabbling in because this is so fantastic. I did not realize how much I actually missed having slow dancing in The Sims 4 until today. I mean, just look at my little love doves. They're staring each other deep in the eyes while slow dancing in a rose garden with a beautiful fountain behind them. And it is just so perfect. It is the thing of Simstagrams. It is the thing to put on the front of wedding invitations. Not that I'm sure Devon and Pine from our Green family legacy have any wedding plans in mind. Ho ho ho. But it is truly a fantastic, detailed little mod. I am very much in love with it, and I'm very much in love with the animations. That's the other thing I wasn't really sure about. Like, would it be kind of awkward? It's actually very sweet. I think they slow dance for quite a long time too, which I really like. I was a little worried it would be too quick, but when you slow dance with somebody, it's kind of in the name. You're going to slow dance, move slowly, stare deeply into each other's eyes, and there's plenty of time for you to fly around your Sims like I like to do and snap a bazillion pictures. It's quite fun. And then there's a couple other interactions. This very much reminds me of slow dancing from The Sims 2, which was one of my favorite interactions. And I don't know, I'm not really somebody who's like, oh, I absolutely have to have that back, other than the floral bench, but we'll get to that from previous games. But I didn't realize just what a romantic touch slow dancing really is. It's not perhaps my thing in real life. I don't know. I've never tried it. Maybe I have to go ask Chips later. But it just brings my Sims together so much better. And the slow dancing actually has a couple extra special little touches where you can embrace while your Sims are slow dancing, which I think would be really sweet. So let's see how that turns out. Aww. The model is a little off. Devon, that's your fault. I'm not going to say why though, because then everybody will know. But you can embrace your Sims while you slow dance, or if you wanted to be super duper flirty, I think we actually need to go ahead and try slow dancing again. So let's do that really quickly. And ignore the white fox. We'll get to that guy in just a second. But let's try slow dancing again, because there is another interaction, and as you can see, you have this beautiful little flurry of hearts that pops up and spins around your Sims as they begin to slow dance. Very thematic. I like it a lot. Are you feeling sassy? Now they're starting to feel a little bit sassy because they've been slow dancing for so long. And sometimes the animation is just a little bit off, but I think that's Devon's fault. It's kind of obvious why. And there is a little bit of a Devon, a little bit of a makeout, and it's not supposed to be so comedic. Devon is at fault for this, but as you can see, depending on who you ask to slow dance, it also will change the position of the Sims, which is helpful if you're trying to pose them for pictures. But yes, I am so tickled. I didn't expect to love the animation quite that much, but clearly my Sims do. Look at them. Look at how happy they are and staring into each other's eyes like that. feeling pretty good, and they're super flirty from the romantic dance as well. So you do get a special moodlet boost from doing the slow dance too, which I really very much like. Swirling with the feelings of passion and happiness after the romantic dance with a loved one. And it lasts for about 3 or 4 hours, which I think is quite sweet. But that shouldn't be the end of the dance, so to speak. Just because the slow dance comes to an end, the romance does not have to. And so that is where the beautiful rose comes in. And I have actually always loved this particular interaction. Dun dun dun! Presenting a sim with a lovely rose as a gift from one sim to another. I have always thought that is really fantastic. There's something just sweet and kind of charming about the idea of giving someone a flower, especially a flower of romance for Valentine's Day. But there is no flower in Devon's inventory after that is done, and the question becomes, what are you going to do with that mystery rose that just vanished into thin air? Is it gone with your memories? Are your wonderful moments of love and romance being formed in this beautiful garden just going to disappear into thin air just like that mystery flower? Well, I've got some ideas on how we can fix that. One way that you could leave your rosy impression a little bit stronger is by changing who gives the rose to the object of your desires. And yes, guys, that is indeed a rose in the mouth of this adorable delivery cat right down here. If you carefully remove all the thorns from your rose, a little disclaimer on the side, then you too can train a kitty cat or dog, or even a raccoon if you wanted, to deliver a rose to your beloved, thanks to the beautiful custom content piece created by the Caltron, who you guys have heard me talk about quite a bit now, but that is because her work is so amazing, and it would not be one of my custom content spotlights without focusing a little bit on animals. And so you can actually find on her downloads a special clothing piece for animals where you can now give your cat or dog, not puppies or kittens, keep in mind, because they cannot wear pet clothing, but your cat or dog a rose to carry, and you can, especially a few carefully timed pictures, definitely make it look like one sim is presenting to the other via adorable kitty cat a rose for them to enjoy. And that definitely is worth a Simstagram picture, if not a permanent memory in your Sims' lives, because come on, that is just romantic and adorable. The next thing we need is like one of the cats or dogs being able to deliver a little rose. Like, you could imagine a ring is on that rose. The romance of it all. And even better, like it delivered through an animal, which is fantastic. And if you want to add a dash of fantasy to this little rose delivery, then why not try something a little bit different by having an extremely beautiful white fox deliver a white rose to your beloved instead. You don't have to go the traditional red rose route, even though that's the majority of what we're going to do for the rest of the booster pack. And for those of you familiar with the language of flowers, you may know that the different colors of the rose actually signify different kinds of emotions that you are trying to convey to someone, whoever you give it to. So you can give the traditional red rose, very romantic touch, I love you sort of touch. You can give the yellow rose of friendship, so you're not limited just to the typical kind of romances with this. I don't remember what the blue rose means, but I do believe it's something a little bit more devious. Then you've got a beautiful white rose, which I think symbolizes purity, and a lovely little pink rose, which I think symbolizes hope, but you've got to look all of those things up just to be sure. You can always say it means just your Sim's favorite color if you wish, and I just love those little details. But this is where the rose is found inside of the pet clothing category. It does not affect your pet's ability to use their mouth, to eat, to groom, to do anything. It will clip into things if you let it. It will just fly all over the place. You'll have puddles just scattered all about. No, you won't. It won't actually do that, but it's a fun idea. And you don't have to worry about like anything bad happening to your animal. I know some of you guys are kind of young and you'd be like, oh no, the rose, it's gonna hurt the cat. Nope, it just counts the same as any other decorative object. And you can easily remove it once the little delivery cat, dog, or in some cases fox has fulfilled their delivery, you can just go ahead and remove it and they can frolic free and wild back where they belong. Then, though, it becomes a question of what to do with that mysterious rose that your sim gave to their beloved. And yes, I am this obsessed about roses this time around. Trust me, it pays off. But first off, guys, I have to admit that that rose, it's not actually in Devon's inventory. So if you are currently playing the game and you're like, hey, my sim gave a rose to another sim, and you go look in her inventory and scour it all over the place, you are not going to find those roses. If you want to actually have the physical item, the roses, to play with in The Sims 4, you need to find roses or graft roses from somewhere around the world. Or if you wanted to go the easy way about it, just pop up to the gallery and download a beautiful flower shop or a rose garden. There are literally hundreds of them just waiting for you to pluck them from the gallery and use them. And then you can go ahead, and if you want to carry it all the way through, what I like to do is I would have had Pine come over and previously harvested a rose bush, and then we could say that he gave, there we go. Then we could say that he gave a rose to Devon. So I would have dragged the rose from his inventory to hers, but we'll kind of swip it around for a second. And now we are in possession. Oh, he already had a ton of roses. Cool. But now we are in possession of an actual rose, which is really exciting. But the question becomes here, now, what do we do with it? So we say that he has delivered the rose to her, and that, or the cat has, for instance. Oh, it kind of looks like the cat is currently eating the rose. That's adorable. And now we've got a rose, but what do we do with it? Now, I'm very much one for preserving memories, or at least making the most out of them. And so I set forth on this long, far-fetched custom content collecting journey, looking simply for ways that I could utilize that rose that my Sims can give to each other in that interaction. Assuming I can get a rose, my hands on one at least, from somewhere in the world or off a gallery, shove it in my Sims inventory, bada bing, bada boom, I've got a rose, what do I do with it? I really want to make it something special because that was a beautiful, romantic, twirling dance those two just had in the rose garden. Well, my friends, I have come up with some surprising conclusions over what you can do with a rose in The Sims 4, ranging from straight up eating it to bathing with it to plunking it down into beautiful vases. And we will be looking in those in just a second here. Oh my goodness, some of this is custom content, some of this is actually game features, and I will poke through all of it really quickly to help you guys know the difference between the two. One of the ones that probably all of you guys are familiar with is going to be this item right here. This is actually the rose in a jar, and this is one of the reward items for a silver rank, I believe, on going on date events. So all Sims are capable of getting this item, and if you want to make it kind of like a challenge, you could say that getting the silver medal ranking so that your Sim can get this award from the date event is kind of your way of preserving the rose and saying that your Sim decided to keep it. I think that's really sweet, maybe only keeping the little rose vase as a gameplay twist and challenge if one of your Sims gave the other that rose interaction. There's also this right here, which is just the plain rose, the same one that you actually did see Pine hand to Devon, and this is a debug object. So if you go into your cheats and you turn on the debug cheat, which is not hard, you can look up the literal copy paste on Google, no problem, and you plunk it down, then it can act as a beautiful decorative object. But it's kind of awkward to have this really long straight rose just sort of lying around the house, and I wanted something with a bit more of a personal touch for my Sims, and so that sent me out looking, and the personal touch being, by the way, actually utilizing a actual rose from their inventories. And so that sent me into the arms of Plastic Box on Mod The Sims 4. Plastic Box is a super long time Sims creator from Sims 2 all the way up to 3 to 4. I have very much enjoyed and loved their work, even though they are currently, everyone assumes, retired from the community. They do still update several pieces of it now and then when big patches come through. And I love these vases. I love them. Not the middle one. The middle one came with the game, but you can only get it without using the debug cheat if you actually go and win the medal which I always forget there's actually date events, so I haven't done that in a long time. And I just love the idea of a rose plucked from a garden, maybe while my Sims were on a date. You could go on a date in a rose garden, pluck the rose, hand the rose to someone, get these vases, which are linked in the video description down below, and put them in the world, and then put that actual rose you collected on the date in there. I told you guys I'm kind of obsessed with the details of making memories. So the way the vases work is really fun because you can put up to 3 flowers in the larger vases and 1 in the like taller, skinnier ones of any variety and any combination. And because we currently do not have a florist skill or a florist bench, that's one of the few things from The Sims 2 that I would just like trip over myself if we could possibly get back. I would absolutely love that. But because we don't have that yet, this is kind of the best stand-in I have found so far that allows us to really play with the flowers and feel like we can arrange them and feel like we can put that personal touch in our Sims' lives. Once you pull up the small flower vase, then you can go ahead and just plunk it on down in the world, which because my bench is full, it doesn't want to do so right now, but there we go. You plunk it on down in the world, and then we can go and take one of the roses from Pine's inventory. We'll say that he is absolutely spoiling his beloved fiancée today, so he has given her 3 beautiful roses, and all you have to do is just drag the rose into the flower vase. But you may notice something looks a little bit odd about this current setup over here. That rose looks really tiny and kind of smushed, and what on earth is going on? And at first I was really panicking and worried that that meant that the mod is broken, but there is a workaround that I have found for this little problem here. This happened with like a couple last updates. Let's see if I can grab it. And so if you want to be able to make your rose normal size so it won't shrink like this while you're trying to add that personal touch into the family's life, then all you have to do... Ooh, in fact, did that fix it? What? That fixed it? That's ridiculous. Okay, well here, live, together, I have just found an easy fix. There we go. So there is a super easy fix to the rose problem that I was having, at least. Very interesting there. I didn't know that would work, but that seems to have fixed the size issue. Fantastic! That tickles me. So make sure that you go ahead and pull the flowers into the household inventory, and that seems to fix all the problems. In fact, look, the one on the ground is normal size now too. Well, an alternative, if you want a slightly larger rose, is to go ahead and blow it up several times. If you make it too big, it won't go into any of the slots, but at certain sizes, it will still fit inside of the vases, including this mason jar, because maybe a vase is a little bit too fancy for you and you're not really feeling it. Maybe you just don't happen to have a flower vase handy. Some people just don't. And all you've got is an adorable little mason jar. Well, don't despair, guys. There are mason jars that have slots to fit your flowers too. And I very much like this mason jar. It is not from plastic box. This one is actually from the Cottage Garden collection. So this is going to be the mason jar vase from the Cottage Garden collection from the Plum Bob Tea Society, which is one of my favorite mod groups. They are so much fun, and the mods they create are often themed around plants, which I very much love, and exceptionally high quality, so I highly recommend checking them out too. I will try to do a good kind of spotlight overview of a whole bunch of their mods in the future as well. But Magnolian Farewell created this specifically. It's a really fantastic vase. All you have to do is just download it, stick it in your mods, boom, pull it up. Like I said, you can pull it up through looking up like mason jar vase too. And it comes in tons of colors, including clear, if you just want to have like a nice simple little clear vase, or you can give it just like a few lines of color if you want to say that it like has some tape around it, or maybe some fancy chalk, or maybe it used to be filled with something. Oh, that's really cute. And that also gives you a lot of flexibility into what things will look like when they're in there. And here, we'll do something kind of cute and fancy really quickly. Let's grab a couple of these plants. There we go. And so now I'm going to try that trick again, which actually I just learned here doing this with you guys. And we're going to drag another flower, boom, straight into the vase. And it seems that you can't do all 3, but you can at least do 2 at a time now. Whereas before I had to manually size up the flowers before I could put them in. But look at how fun that is. And just imagine being out on a date with your Sims and having them pick those flowers from a flower garden park that you have them walk through for their little romantic slow dance together. And then you can take the flowers home and you can stick them in a vase, and you can stick the vase on the counter in the corner and just have that beautiful little memory memento. And if you want something fancier, so we veered a little bit more rustic with the mason jar, but if you want to go the other direction and go super fancy, then I have this very exciting, unexpected find. A lamp flower. Holy cow, this is so pretty. I did not expect it to be so high quality when it plunked into my game, and it was a completely accidental find that I discovered while looking for all sorts of rose related downloads. But this is the Tuxie Bell Jar Rose, and it is very, very, very pretty. I very much like it, and it is from Toxic Tumblr. I've never heard of them before. This is the first time I've stumbled on them, but I definitely am quite intrigued, and I really love the detail of this rose. So imagine the rose is super important for your Sims family for some reason, or imagine that you just have a very fancy Sim who really wants to show off the symbol of romance. Then you can stick it inside of a jar like this, or maybe it is just simply a casual, fun item to have for a horticulture loving Sim who wants to have some decor that's flower related around their home. It also comes in a couple different colors, so if you want to plate your rose in literal gold, you can do that. Or if you want it to be pink, you can do that. Personally, I love just the simple red rose, but I have to admit there is something kind of appealing if you really, really want to have like something fancy. You can give your Sim a solid gold rose. That definitely makes a statement, that's for sure. But as you can see, vases, vases, and fancy ways to show off roses are not the only thing that are currently in front of us. We also have a scientific machine, because maybe your Sim very much appreciated that rose, but they don't exactly want to keep it around the house. They want to do something a little bit more useful with it. Well, don't forget guys, there are several gameplay features that do feature using the rose as a resource to create new things, including using the rose to make this rose serum. This is something that comes with the Get to Work expansion and is part of the scientist career. A lot of you guys have probably already messed with this, and I made a rose serum once or twice before, but I have to admit I have never used them. Not once. Not even the one that Pine once upon a far away ago era got in his inventory. But you can use up one of the roses to create the rose serum if you have, oh boy, success! So we have created a serum. If you have the scientist career object, and you can either unlock that by sending your Sim to the scientist career and actively pursuing it once you have the Get to Work expansion, or you can just use the unlock debug objects cheat and be able to pluck it down from the little category yourself, which is how I got it here. And then once you make the rose serum, if you wish, let me see if I can find it. There we go. We have the rose perfume. We can now drink this to make our Sim flirty, which Pine already is. So he doesn't need to drink this. Keep in mind, sometimes you have side effects from drinking serums, just FYI. But it hit me, how cute would it be if your Sim used this bench only to create rose serums so that you could sell rose perfume like this to all of the other Sims in the world. And there's just something really charming about that idea. I really like that idea that maybe it can be kind of like this special perfume that your Sims sell at a like romantic boutique, or maybe something that your Sim goes to pick up from a fancy shop or maybe a flower store before a date and they dab it on before the date. I just think that's a really fun idea, and I wanted to throw that out there in case it hadn't occurred to any of you. The rose perfume or the rose serum, depending on what you're going to find it under, and you can actually pluck these straight from the catalog too. You don't have to make your Sim create one. That's just an idea of how you could use up the roses. But you can pluck these straight from the catalog if you use the Buy Debug Show Hidden Objects True Cheat. And it is going to be a new feature in my gameplay now that I have remembered that it exists while pursuing what can I do with the rose in The Sims 4. And now that I have come up with the idea of, oh, what if there was just one little shelf tucked away at like a flower shop or a little boutique where they sell fancy clothes, where my Sims could buy some and I could have them dab it on before a date, and then they'd be feeling really flirty. And I love that idea. But that is not the only way that you can use a rose in The Sims 4. You could also eat it, which is something I didn't really know until I was looking up what you could do with roses in Sims 4, because I have actually only used the ice cream machine from Cool Kitchen Stuff maybe once or twice, and I have never had a Sim with very high cooking skill use it before, so I didn't know it, but there is actually a ice cream mix in the ice cream maker called Twin Roses. Unlike the serum, it will not actually use up the rose from your inventory if you have one, but it's just fun to imagine maybe you have a foodie Sim, or maybe you have a culinarian Sim who really loves to eat. And so instead of putting the rose somewhere in the household where they could go ahead and admire it in a vase, or instead of turning it into a serum if they happen to be more sciencey based, your Sim can pursue their foodie loving personality, and she can create the Twin Roses carton of ice cream, which, if you have the Cool Kitchen Stuff, is available to you. And until I was playing around trying to figure out what to do for this spotlight video, I had never seen or heard of before. But you can go ahead, why don't we toss in some chocolate sauce? That sounds amazing. We can even say the flowers that are sprinkled on top happen to be the rose petals themselves. And then voila! You have now transformed that symbol of romance into a delicious frozen dessert that you could share with your date. And then, this is a little embarrassing, but I do feel like it's important to mention, you could also go the old school route and just plant the rose so that you could have a brand new rose bush. And that could be how your Sim decides to go ahead and memorialize that beautiful date. And that too is very much up my alley with loving gardening so much, but I honestly had not thought about that option before, of having my Sims go on a super romantic or important date and then saving one of the flowers in a special flower pot set somewhere away from the rest of the garden, where I could go ahead and plant that flower and grow a new rose bush that I will forever remember is from that special occasion. I know that's really obvious, and I'm sure that everybody's like, Seri, come on, gardening is literally a base game thing, but it's just not a special sort of gameplay tweak that I had ever thought about until I was sitting down going, what can I do with a rose? Or if your Sim happens to be particularly exhausted from such a romantic afternoon, they could unwind if you happen to have the wellness pack and enjoy a rose petal soak bath, which again is something I often forget my Sims can even do. There are so many little gameplay features that I haven't really explored that are in so many of the stuff packs and game packs and expansion packs that I was really happy to stumble on while I was chasing down my trail of roses. So yes, rose petals in the water might be the way that your Sim chooses to use that romantic gift they had that afternoon so that they could unwind and relax at night. And when you use the rose petal soak when you are inside of the bathtub, you will actually gain a rose scented garden. Oh, that sounds amazing. Moodlet boost. And if you pair the rose scented soak with the extra flirtatious scent of the sandalwood incense by putting down an incense holder and making sure that it has some sandalwood going before you get into the bath, you will actually double up the moodlet boost, and you will get a very large moodlet boost compared to if you just had the sandalwood on or if you just had the rose petals in the tub. A fun little gameplay feature that, again, I for years now have never known about just because I haven't had the opportunity to bother to figure it out. And now, chasing down my trail of roses, I have. Of course, the night and the romance does not have to end there, even if Devon currently may not be feeling her best. it can continue on. And this is my final spotlight for this little video, which definitely went on a lot longer than I thought just making a spotlight about roses could possibly be in The Sims 4. But just today, or at least today to my knowledge, a brand new download has become available by Sandy of Around The Sims 4, who does absolutely amazing creations for The Sims 2, 3, and 4, and has for many, many years. I have been a big fan of hers for quite some time, but just in time for our Roses and Romance Booster Pack collection, she has created a brand new wedding set, a brand new wedding dining set that includes this absolutely beautiful trellis that you can put over the tables, some brand new tables, including one that sits people and one that sits 4 people, a whole bunch of new chairs, and right at the centerpiece, a beautiful vase full of roses. And if perhaps the big vase isn't your thing, perhaps all of the little vases scattered around the house with those roses weren't your thing, and you don't want to eat them, you don't want to sell them, you don't want to plant them, you don't want to bathe with them, and you don't want to turn them into serum isn't your thing, then you have a couple more rosy related options to round off the Roses and Romance booster pack. They include going ahead and literally tearing the rose apart, which could make for exceptionally dramatic moments in your storytelling if you decide to have your sim pretend they dramatically throw the rose to the ground, or perhaps play that game of plucking off the petals and going, do they not actually love me? Very many options there. Or you could go ahead and snag the tiny rose, this little rose head by Sandy. Absolutely love it. It's really, really small, and it's actually perfect if all you want to do with your rose is say perhaps that you dry it. So instead of having a vase sitting around, if that's not your thing, or doing anything else with the rose, but you want to have that little memento, as I'm really fond to do with my gameplay, then you could just pluck the actual head of the rose off and imagine that your sim dries it the way that my mother used to do with her Valentine's Day roses that my father would bring her, and you can tuck it somewhere unexpected around the house. Maybe you can just leave it right here in the bookshelf where the next generation will find the dried rose that Grandmama had from Grandpapa's day he proposed, or something silly like that. Or maybe it will be stumbling upon a bad memory romance that a sim will immediately want to toss out and throw out. But I'm very much a game player who enjoys leaving little details all around my sims' homes that really reflect the tiny little moments of their experiences and their stories. So pretending that there's a little dried rose left there from a romantic date afternoon that Devon and Pine had in some rose garden, that really makes me happy. And every time from now on that I play and glance over and see it again, it will remind me of all those wonderful memories. Perhaps a little bit longer than actually eating the rose would. But there we go, guys. My sims are definitely feeling flirty, and they had so many more options. So many more options of things to do with those beautiful roses than I possibly thought they could. And I didn't even get to touch on so many other things, such as some of the amazing custom content headpieces that you can download. So perhaps your sim just wants to wear the flower in their hair. Then yes, that too is an option. Thanks to Weeping Simmer's head accessories, you can actually download rose headbands, or one simple rose, for your sims if they want to go ahead and take that beautiful dedication of desire and romance and just stick it straight in their hair for a lovely afternoon of staring deeply into each other's eyes instead. So yes, thank you guys so much for joining me. I know this was kind of jumping all over the place between gameplay and deep modded things such as brand new beautiful romantic interactions and a whole bunch of little miscellaneous bits and pieces that don't quite seem to have any common theme until you just look at the simple, beautiful rose. I had a lot of fun just chasing down my idea of what could my sims do with that rose they offer to each other that would make it a more lasting memory than just a moment before it disappears into the simlish endlessness. And it was really fun to find all of these pieces of custom content, several of which I did not expect to stumble on, and several of which I probably wouldn't have used if I hadn't really been trying to unravel the puzzle of what to do with all these roses. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Maybe I have given you some sort of idea for your gameplay. I know my gameplay is a lot more detailed and a lot more quirky than most people, but I know that's what it makes it really, really fun for me and has made it fun for the past 18 years, and hopefully for many, many more decades too. So maybe there was an idea in there for you guys to enjoy. Maybe for those of you into the Green family legacy, there was a spoiler or two to hint at future episodes. And hopefully you guys happen to find a really fun mod tucked somewhere in there. So thanks for letting me go ahead and enjoy my time, really have fun doing something different and making these custom content booster packs, collecting mods, gameplay features, and little decorative pieces from all throughout the land in order to pull together an unexpected theme and just add something more to my gameplay. I really look forward to sharing even more ideas with you guys, and hopefully there's a ton more out there that will surprise and delight me when I discover it. So if I find it, I will be sure to bring you more booster packs, and if you have some ideas, do please leave them suggested down in the comments below. I am thrilled to continue the chase across the wide web of the internet to gather all of these bits and pieces to you. And if you also happen to have some really cool gameplay things you've never seen me do, or you don't see many people do, I would love to know if there's some hidden gameplay features, kind of like that rose ice cream, or the way if you combined rose bath and the sandalwood incense together, it gives a huge moodlet boost, or the serum that I have never used. I would love to look into those too. So please leave all of your suggestions, comments, considerations down in the comment section below, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys.